The night I learned, they already knew. A story about a wife's betrayal with an unexpected ending.
Chapter 1. The American picture our suburb always felt like a postcard, frozen in time. The lawns trimmed with military precision, mailboxes freshly painted, neighbors waving while carrying grocery bags or walking their golden retrievers. Everything looked clean, orderly, safe. It was the kind of place where no one ever asked real questions, where people smiled and said, "We're doing fine," even when they weren't. Our house was a copy of the others. A white facade, a wooden porch with 2 rocking chairs, swings still hanging though our kids had long since outgrown them. From the outside, it was perfection. Inside, it felt like a museum exhibit. Tom worked in it. He lived inside that home office, screens glowing late into the night. Sometimes I would pass by his door and hear his muffled voice on calls. To him, work wasn't just a job, it was his refuge, his real world. At dinner, he spoke about projects, software bugs, deadlines. I nodded, smiled, pretended to listen. He never asked about my day. And I played my role. The quiet wife, the teacher, coming home at 4, setting the table, folding laundry. Everything looked correct. Everything in its place. But I felt hollow. Then there was Michael. He was married to Catherine, my friend. He had a way of making everyone laugh, of turning the most ordinary errand into something light. At first, it was nothing, him carrying my grocery bags after a barbecue or offering to fix a broken garden light. But his presence lingered. His jokes, his glances, the way his eyes stayed on mine just a second too long. When I realized I was waiting for those moments, I knew I had crossed an invisible line. Chapter 2. The first cracks it began harmlessly. Messages at night, after Catherine had gone to bed. Short, teasing words that lit up my phone and, with it, something inside me. I should have ignored them. Instead, I answered. We created our own bubble, a private space made of words. Jokes, half-truths, confessions I hadn't shared in years. His messages became the highlight of my evenings. Soon came the meetings. Small cafes where no one knew us. Parking lots where our cars faced opposite directions, but our hands reached across. He looked at me in a way Tom never did anymore, as if he saw me, not just a shadow moving around the house. With him, I laughed like a girl again. The first time he touched my hand in his car, I froze. I could have pulled away, but I didn't. That moment sealed it. The motel off the highway became our place. Anonymous, forgettable. The blinds rattled in the wind. The sheets smelled of bleach. The walls were thin. It wasn't beautiful, but for me, it was alive. Every time, I told myself it would be the last. Every time, I went back. And at home, Tom sat behind his glowing screens, not even glancing up when I slipped through the door. Chapter 3. A stranger's gaze, the illusion cracked slowly. Cleaning out my car one Saturday, I noticed it. A small black device tucked near the dashboard. No label, no obvious purpose. For a moment, I thought it was a charger, but something inside me clenched. A few days later, at dinner, Tom asked in his usual calm voice, without even lifting his eyes from the plate, "You stayed late at school again yesterday." Hard to believe those meetings drag on for hours. The fork slipped from my fingers. The way he said it, flat, controlled, almost bored, terrified me more than if had shouted. He wasn't asking. He was testing. And in that instant, I knew. He was watching. Chapter 4. The blue one evening, Michael and I stepped out of the motel, the cold night air cutting across my skin. That's when I saw it. A car parked a few rows away, engine off, headlights dark. A figure inside, motionless, as though carved from stone. My pulse hammered so loudly I could hear it in my ears. "You're imagining things," Michael whispered, squeezing my shoulder. "No one's watching us." But the dread stayed with me. When I came home, Tom wasn't in his office. He was at the kitchen table, hands clasped, staring at nothing. The silence in the room pressed on me like a weight. He lifted his head and said, "The worst part isn't betrayal. The worst part is when someone believes their secret is invisible. Then nothing. Just silence." His eyes locked on mine, unreadable. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing the walls of my life were closing in. Chapter 5. The barbecue the following weekend. The neighbors hosted a barbecue. Laughter echoed through the yards. Smoke curled into the sky. Children shrieked with joy. To everyone else, it was a normal Saturday. To me, it felt like a stage play, and I was the only one who knew the script was about to collapse. Michael was there with Catherine. He kept his distance, but his eyes found mine once, and I looked away too fast. Tom stood beside me, holding a beer. His face calm, almost pleasant. Then, when the chatter lulled for a moment, he raised his glass and said, "To the truth, no matter how deep you bury it, it always finds its way to the surface." The words hung in the air. Michael coughed. Catherine smiled too tightly. My blood ran cold. He knew. Catherine knew. And suddenly, I felt like the whole neighborhood knew. Chapter 6. The unraveling the call came 3 days later. Catherine. Her voice was controlled, sharp, stripped of warmth. "Emily, I know about you. About you and Michael. And so does Tom." I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles ached. She continued and hurried. "Tom and I have known for a while. We worked together. He tracked your car. I hired a private investigator. We've been gathering everything: photos, texts, recordings. We smiled at you, ate with you, pretended nothing was wrong, and waited." I sank onto the bed, speechless. A week later, the papers arrived. Divorce proceedings. Both families side by side in court. They had orchestrated it all: evidence, attorneys, witnesses. Every step planned with precision. When I finally asked Tom, broken, desperate, "Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you stop me?" He looked at me like I was already gone, a ghost in our house. His voice was quiet, colder than anything I had ever heard, because silence cuts deeper than any word. Then he walked away. I was left standing in the shell of our perfect house, the windows intact, but the life inside already shattered.